I've been putting off talking about the new items coming in 9.19 for Teamfight Tactics. There's 10 new items in the patch, and one of the current items that we play now in 9.18 is being removed from the game, so you can expect a lot of shakeups in the current meta. This is because the new items will not only move the strength charts around, but they will also bring in new synergies with champions that create completely new strategies. A great example of this is the new item Trap Claw, which is an item that grants its wearer a spell shield that will stun whoever casts a spell on. Team comps that are very spell heavy right now will have to think their way around this new effect. So in today's video, we'll review each of the new items being added to Teamfight Tactics in 9.19 and talk a little bit about what they will do for the game as a whole. This way you'll be prepared for next week when the patch gets released. Firstly, Sword of the Divine, which was made using a best friend sword and a recurve bow, granting a small chance every second to grant you 100% crits chance, has been removed in the next patch. My guess is, since it did go through several rounds of balancing, that the design team had a lot of new and cool ideas that were simply better than trying to balance this item and keep it in the game. It worked well with Assassins, but I'm not overly sad to see it go. Taking its place is Giant Slayer, which is made with the same two component items. Giant Slayer deals 5% of the target's maximum HP each hit. They've spent the better part of the last 6 weeks tinkering with Relonomicon, Red Buff, and even the addition of Pantheon to try and provide good options that deal with high HP targets. Giant Slayer is essentially Vayne's passive that can be applied to any unit you put it on. It's a great addition to the game because now you can give decent damage output to units that previously didn't scale that well into late game. I've experimented with it a good bit, even trying on champions like Volibear with the splash on hit effects, and I can say it's a great addition to our arsenal to be sure. The new component item is called Sparring Gloves and grants 10% crit chance and 10% dodge chance at base. It's a bit of a hybrid item, but it does give us a flat stat for both crit and dodge, which is nice. And you'll see in a minute how the new avenues for dodge come into play as well. We now have an expanded item grid that includes 9 new possible combinations that didn't exist before, which is awesome. Infinity Edge has been moved to a combo of Sparring Gloves and BF Sword. The reasoning here is likely that since Sparring Gloves has flat crit chance on it, it made more sense to have the crit item Infinity Edge as a combo for it. To fill the hole that this leaves, now 2 BF swords combine together to make a Death Edge, which is a new item. As you'd expect for an item made from 2 raw attack damage components, it provides a scaling attack damage bonus. Every time its wearer participates in a kill, meaning it either gets a kill or an assist, it will gain a stack of Death Edge, providing plus 15 attack damage with no maximum cap other than the amount of enemies that you can kill. It's an important distinction because after running this item many times, some units that struggle to kill targets quickly won't get many stacks during the round because they weren't part of the kill. I love using Death Edge with Rangers, who naturally get a bonus attack speed, and of course with units that scale off of base attack damage with crit, like Assassins. Sparring Gloves with a recurve bow, however, creates a repeating crossbow, which is a fascinating item. It gives attack speed and crit chance and dodge chance at base as you'd expect, but when the champion carrying it dies, it will transfer to the nearest unit that has an inventory slot open. Each time it jumps, however, it will provide an additional 20% attack speed and 20% crit chance. The more often it changes hands, the more stats it provides. In practice, I haven't found this item to be much more useful than any of the other options for AD carries. It makes sense at first to give it to your frontline units, and then you can let it bounce a few times as your frontline dies before it reaches your backline carries to provide the highest stat benefit possible. However, by the time it reaches your backline, as your units are dying, the fight is pretty much decided by that point, so it's a little bit too late. So if you make it, I recommend simply just giving it to your carries from the get-go, and if they happen to get picked off early for some reason, by Assassins, a random Phantom proc for example, it will bounce to nearby carries that can benefit from its stats. Sparring Gloves with a Chain Vest creates Iceborne Gauntlet, which is another unique effect. If the owner of this item ever dodges, they will drop a puddle of ice that slows attack speed by 30%, and this puddle will spread over time across the arena. Attack speed slowing is actually incredibly powerful, as it both hurts AD carries but also slows down every unit's ability to gain mana and cast their abilities. It's one of the reasons why Anivia can be such a powerful pick against hyper carry builds, as her ability to slow attack speed works excellently against it. Now, at first you may think you need to be running Yordles to effectively run Iceborne Gauntlet. And that is false. Remember that Shen's ability causes a 100% chance to dodge, which works great with the Iceborne Gauntlet. And realistically, you only need to proc this item once because the puddle will just start working across the field, applying the debuff. I have also been running Iceborne Gauntlet with Phantom Dancer, since Phantom Dancer makes you dodge any critical strikes. And putting these two items together make it so you proc the Iceborne Gauntlet basically every single round consistently. It can be a powerful pickup. Sparring Gloves with a Negatron Cloak, however, creates a Quicksilver, which gives a shield to its wearer that prevents the next crowd control effect that would otherwise hit it, and the shield regenerates every 5 seconds. It's not an individually powerful item, but it's a huge counter item that the game desperately needed for a long time. Picking up a Quicksilver against a heavy glacial team, for example, or even a team that has a lot of teamfight ultimates like Sejuani or Gnar or Cho'Gath, can turn the fight around in a huge way. And there are a few builds in the game right now that rely heavily on their ability to stun you. And if you take this away on your key units, you can easily start picking up some wins. I've mostly put Quicksilvers on either my backline carries or on my frontline CC units like Sejuani to make sure that they don't get CC'd and stun locked without getting their ultimate off. A needlessly large rod and Sparring Gloves makes a jeweled gauntlet. The passive here is simple but effective. Your spells can now critically hit. I've experimented with this item a fair bit, and I honestly find it to be less useful than simply putting a death cap on a caster. If you think about it, a champion like Aurelion Sol will only cast once, maybe twice per round. If none of those hits critically hit, then the item provided no benefit to you at all. Now, to get more consistency out of the item, you could use it on units that cast more often, but units like Akali already critically hit that cast a lot. That being said though, I think this is a nice budget death cap that you can throw on a champion if you can't find better items, or throw it on a champion that isn't actually your primary caster. For example, champions like Varus can be a great target for this item, as you will likely be putting your caster items on other units anyway. If you do crit throw, you can do some serious damage. So far, my highest hit has been 3,100. Let me know if you get something higher. And no, Vhagar crits don't count. And Tear the Goddess gets you Hand of Justice, which switches between either 40% damage or 40 life on hit randomly each round. Honestly, this item is just overall good. It doesn't need any combos or synergies, though life on hit works better with either fast attack speed like Rangers or multiple hits like Gunslingers or Blade Masters. The 40% damage bonus works with spells as well as attacks, so it gives you a nice flavor mix of benefits each round that I've found to be good almost always. It's a nice no-nonsense item addition to the game. Next is one of my favorites, which is the Trap Claw, made by combining a Giant's Belt with the Sparring Gloves. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this item is a big shakeup and can allow you to shut down a lot of spells and specific team comps. The Trap Claw gives you a one-time shield at the start of combat that blocks one spell for its wearer and will stun the enemy that hit you. I think we'll be discovering the benefits of this item for at least a few weeks, if not longer, as there are a lot of interactions that can make this item shine. Especially against enemy champions that deal large AoE effects, it can guarantee that they stun themselves on cast every time if they hit your entire team. I've also used the Trap Claw against a carry Katarina that stops her at the beginning of her channel, which can immediately turn the round to your favor. I love this item. A spatula with the Sparring Gloves gives you Mittens, which converts its wearer into a Yordle. It even shrinks them down to an adorable fun size. The Yordle bonus has been increased to 9 Yordles as well, though there are currently only still 6 in the game, so you need to get 3 more pairs of Mittens to get to 9. The Yordle bonus works great with Iceborne Gauntlets, which trigger on dodge, and also works well against AD focused builds like Blade Masters, Gunslingers, and Rangers. I've run a few variants of this, and while giving dodge to a unit can be beneficial, I would only recommend this if you're close to 6 Yordles and you don't have a lot of other options. Lastly, 2 Sparring Gloves together makes Thief's Gloves, which is a fun item. If a champion has Thief's Gloves equipped, they cannot wear any other items. However, at the start of a round, your champion will be granted 2 other items to fill both your empty slots. Especially in the beginning of the game where not many items are owned, a Thief's Gloves can make a unit hugely powerful. Now, the quality of the items you randomly get scales by your level, so you won't get great items in the very beginning, but randomly getting a Guardian Angel, for example, can give you some easy wins. And that does it for the new items coming to TFT in 9.19. The patch is expected out next Wednesday, 9/25, but familiarizing yourself with the items now will make patch day a lot smoother for you, as it does require a lot more thinking and planning on what items you're going to use. Getting this many new items at once means that making those snap decisions on what items to make throughout the match becomes a lot harder until you get comfortable with the items that are coming, which is why I made this whole video in the first place. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, you know the whole shebang, and I'll see you in the next one.